let's dig into these games. We've got 2 Saturday games before a mountain of games that we have on Sunday. And it's after, a month where I feel like, okay, we're dabbling with some Thursday night games, some Wednesday night games, some Saturday games, everything. It's just all back to the weekend here for the NFL. And we got 2 big ones with playoff implications to kick things off. The Ravens and the Browns. The Browns traveling to Baltimore to face the Baltimore Ravens. And the Ravens aren't one of those teams that's going to be resting everybody from the very beginning. Depending on what the score might be when we get to the third or fourth quarter, maybe they'll start resting some guys. But the Ravens have a ton to play for here. They have the division, which they can win. Obviously, the 3 seed up for grabs there if they're able to do that. So this is one of these matchups where, because we want to talk about it here with what the Ravens can do to cap this off and win the division, we are going to talk about the matchup that matters and some plus factors here. What's your matchup that matters or plus factor? I'll sort of give you dealer's choice to start however you want with this game.
I'll still go matchup that matters first. And again, like when you look at a game that's A, just kind of lopsided given the talent and the records of these teams, but B, when you have one team that has something to play for and one that doesn't, I just go towards, all right, what can the team that has nothing to play for do to spoil the other team that does? So what can the Browns do to spoil what the Ravens are trying to do, which is win their division, get the 3 seed, all of that kind of stuff. And it boils down to the fact that there is somebody on the Browns individually that has motivation, and that's Myles Garrett, because he's tied for the NFL lead with 14 sacks. He's the first player since '82 with 14 plus sacks in 4 straight seasons. But he has a sack in 6 of his past 7 versus Baltimore. Like, there are streaks, there are records, there are reasons for Myles Garrett to want to play well and to affect this game. And when you think about things that can spoil what the Baltimore Ravens are trying to do, Myles Garrett is first and foremost on this. So it's how he does against this offensive line, how much he can affect Lamar, all that kind of stuff. He's still motivated, and I think that matters in a game like this where his team itself has nothing else to play for.
So my matchup that matters, or just really, I guess you could call it a plus factor, however you wanted to look at it, was really Dorian Thompson-Robinson and how he has played for the Cleveland Browns. But as of 10 minutes ago, they announced that Bailey Zappi is actually going to be the starting quarterback for the Browns. And so I suppose that in and of itself is the plus factor here, is that you're hoping to get something better, because over the last 3 weeks, I mean, I was going to highlight the fact that it's hard to think the Browns are going to be able to do anything in this game, because DTR just has not been that caliber of a quarterback. He had 4 interceptions, which was tied for the second most over the last 3 weeks. He had 4 turnover-worthy plays, which was tied for 5th most. And so he was not able to match that with any sort of big-time throw percentage or big-time throw output. So it was a lot of negative from DTR, who wasn't really giving you those explosives either. And you and I have talked about this a couple of times over the last few weeks. It's like, all right, well, if Jameis is hurt, then you understand it. But Jameis is really the quarterback that actually gives you the ceiling, the potential to win the football game, because he has before in this league. And even though it's a very up and down roller coaster, it at least can hit a peak that wins in this league. Yeah, I mean, it's
production with Jameis Winston.
Right. I mean, it's production either way, to be honest with you, but he at least gives you that chance. But he's not starting here, and they're going to Bailey Zappi. And, we saw Zappi, last year when it was with the New England Patriots, when he was him and Mac Jones going back and forth, and obviously it wasn't anything that earned him that starting job moving forward. He's no longer on the New England Patriots, and so it's hard to think that Zappi is really going to give you a ton more than DTR did, but you're hoping the efficiency is at least up in that regard, and you're hoping that he's not turning the ball over as much or putting the ball into harm's way. You're hoping that you're still able to feed Jerry Jeudy and some of the rest of those offensive weapons there without those turnover-worthy plays. But no matter who the quarterback is, and it looks like it's Bailey Zappi, there has to be some more explosives. He has to be able to take some risks at this point if they're going to win this football game. But ultimately, just the quarterback position is why I kind of started this segment talking about, well, the Ravens aren't resting anyone to start. When we get into the second half, depending on what the scoreboard says, we might get there. What about a plus factor here for you? What do you got?
Yeah, well, in that same vein, and thinking realistically about are the Browns going to be able to take care of the football? And full disclosure, I did do this when I thought DTR was starting before we knew that Bailey Zappi was, but I think the point remains the same. Kyle Hamilton, I think, is kind of the plus factor here for the Baltimore Ravens, because he did get his first interception of the season this last game. He wants the 3rd game in a row with a pass defense. And then in week 8 versus Cleveland, he went off. 10 tackles, 2 passes defensed, a sack, a forced fumble. He really took over this game for the Baltimore Ravens defense and affected the Browns pretty heavily. So you think about, all right, what the Browns are going to try to do. Are they going to put the ball in harm's way? Who's going to be able to capitalize on that? It's Kyle Hamilton.
Yeah, I think it's, and mine's actually just a little bit of a step back towards looking at the same picture, and that's the Ravens secondary overall. Kyle Hamilton's been a huge part of that, but they've played well really as a unit, especially since Kyle Hamilton was moved into more of that free safety role. It's been able to help out, I think, the entire secondary play in a lot of really great spots. Over the last month, so over the last 4 games, they've got 7 forced incompletions, they've got 3 interceptions, and they have a 78.0 coverage grade as a team. That's second highest in the NFL. And the reason why I think that this matters, less for this game in particular, which again, we think that they should win pretty easily if there is such a thing as that in the NFL. It's more towards looking at the playoffs. And if this is a hot secondary here, well, all of a sudden, all right, the front four is playing a little bit better. Obviously, Lamar has been unbelievable. Derrick Henry's been unbelievable. You got Pro Bowl wide receivers in Baltimore now, which is the first time ever. Shout out to Zay Flowers for that. The offensive line's been playing pretty well. And so the team's really hitting their stride going into the postseason, even as the potential 3 seed here. So with this coverage group playing as well as it has over the last month, you want to be able to keep it going. And coverage is very much an area of this game that is volatile. It's very much up and down. We see this year to year. Sometimes it's season to season within the seasons, if you will. But you want to make sure, if you're the Ravens, that you didn't peak over the last 4 weeks, right? And that you're still peaking going into the playoffs, because I know you won't face the Kansas City Chiefs for at least another 2 weeks with them having the bye, but the Buffalo Bills, the Los Angeles Chargers, like there's just so many different teams that you've got to be able to lock down here. And so them continuing to play really well in coverage, you highlighting Kyle Hamilton as really the shining star there of their coverage group, to me is paramount for them moving forward. That is the difference of what makes this team, okay, one that's going to be a tough out, one that's going to be a really good team. And all right, this is good enough to be Super Bowl caliber. Like you have a defense that can win it for you to match what the offensive output has been with Lamar Jackson this season. So,
and you need to see the consistency too. That's just paramount and priority number 1 for the Ravens, because they've had just some head scratching performances and losses.
And it's hard to do in the secondary, be consistent, but I agree with you. I think that that's something that that definitely needs to happen. There's also been, some on the Brown side of things, there's been, some articles and some things written, talking about, some people wondered, okay, after this year, like is Kevin Stefanski on the hot seat? But a lot of what we've heard kind of out of that building is now that, they've really rallied around Kevin Stefanski. He's done a great job through a really tumultuous season for them. They will be in the quarterback market in some way, shape, or form this upcoming season. It's not a guarantee that just because they're paying Deshaun Watson a lot of money that they're going to stick to that next year. And so, we'll talk about the Cleveland Browns a lot more as this offseason goes on with a team that we know is going to have a high draft pick and a lot to talk about at quarterback. But that's sort of how we view those 2 teams. Thanks for watching, everybody. Make sure you like and subscribe the video. And if you don't have a PFF Plus subscription, you can get one to see all the premium stats that we talked about here on the show, plus the expert betting and fantasy advice over at subscribe.pff.com. The description is also right below. So if you are not a PFF Plus subscriber, you can come one today.